the quiet scholar of Königsberg. In the bustling port city of Königsberg, known for its bridges and medieval charm, lived a man of extraordinary mind and simple habits, Immanuel Kant. Each morning, Kant walked the same path at precisely the same time, such that the people of Königsberg could set their clocks by his routine. But what the world saw as predictable masked a storm of intellectual curiosity and moral conviction. Kant's upbringing was humble. Born in 1724 to a devout pietist family, he absorbed values of integrity and duty early on. Despite his unassuming life, Kant developed ideas that would question the moral fabric of human actions and elevate ethics to a realm that demanded respect for every individual. His work challenged people to examine not only what they did but why they did it. In his writings, Kant would ask, "What does it mean to live rightly?" This question, born from a life dedicated to introspection and ethical rigor, is the foundation for the life lessons we explore. Each one carries with it a profound call to act not merely for oneself but for a greater moral purpose. 1. Live by the Categorical Imperative, a story of ethical resolve. Imagine standing at a crossroads, faced with a choice between telling a small lie to protect yourself or telling the truth and risking discomfort. Kant's categorical imperative, a principle he held as the cornerstone of morality, urges us to choose actions that could be universal laws, acceptable if everyone acted in the same way. In a small town, a man named Jacob faces just such a dilemma. He's entrusted with managing a family business, but a choice arises that could benefit him personally while putting the business at risk. As he contemplates his options, Jacob recalls a lesson his grandfather taught him: act as though the whole world were watching. This advice resonates with Kant's imperative, leading Jacob to choose honesty, even at personal cost. Kant's categorical imperative is not simply a guide for individual actions but a call for societal integrity. It challenges us to consider the broader consequences of our choices, envisioning a world in which everyone upholds the same moral standards. This universal approach to ethics builds trust and strengthens communities, making the world a better place for all. 2. Respect the autonomy of others, valuing dignity beyond differences. In Kant's view, respect for the autonomy of others is essential. He believed that people should never be treated merely as tools for personal gain but as individuals with their own intrinsic worth. This is what he called treating others as ends in themselves. A story unfolds between two characters, Anna, a city planner, and Manuel, a farmer resisting the city's plans to develop his land. Both are passionate but have vastly different visions. As their paths cross, tension arises. However, instead of trying to impose her view, Anna chooses to listen to Manuel, to understand his connection to the land. Gradually, she sees him not as an obstacle but as a person with valid concerns. In respecting Manuel's autonomy, Anna embodies Kant's belief that people deserve to be heard and valued. Kant's lesson here teaches us to step beyond our own agendas and honor others' perspectives, fostering relationships based on respect rather than dominance. This respect for autonomy can transform conflicts, leading to solutions grounded in empathy and mutual dignity. 3. Value duty over consequences, the principle of selfless action. Kant believed that morality lies not in the outcome of actions but in the duty to do what is right. In his view, actions should be driven by a commitment to ethical principles, not by the pursuit of reward or fear of consequences. Consider the story of Elsa, a medical worker in a remote village. Faced with scarce resources, she has the choice to provide care to either a wealthy benefactor or a local child. The wealthy patient could bring donations that would help the clinic, yet her duty to provide unbiased care weighs on her conscience. Elsa chooses to treat the child first, despite knowing it may cost the clinic much-needed funds. Kant's emphasis on duty encourages us to act not out of convenience but out of commitment to what is just. When we prioritize ethical principles over favorable outcomes, we cultivate a world where trust and honor hold greater value than fleeting gains. 4. Pursue knowledge and self-reflection, the journey of a lifelong learner. For Kant, the pursuit of knowledge was essential. He believed that to live a truly moral life, one must be willing to examine one's beliefs, question assumptions, and seek truth. In this section, we follow the story of Daniel, a retired engineer who, despite his age, enrolls in a philosophy course. As he learns about ethics and the complexity of human motivations, he begins to reflect on his own life choices. Through his journey, Daniel finds a deeper understanding of himself and a new appreciation for ethical dilemmas he once dismissed as black and white. Kant's call for self-reflection encourages a humility that reminds us how limited our knowledge often is. By embracing lifelong learning, we foster an openness to new ideas, making us wiser and more compassionate individuals. 5. Believe in the potential for moral improvement, a tale of redemption. Kant had faith in humanity's capacity to grow morally. He saw the journey toward ethical perfection as a continuous process, emphasizing that even flawed individuals have the potential to make better choices. This section follows Clara, a former business executive who, after years of making decisions based solely on profit, realizes the negative impact she has had on her community. Haunted by regret, she begins volunteering to make amends. Through her journey, she learns that her past does not define her and that true change comes from committing to better choices in the present. Kant's belief in moral improvement teaches us to view mistakes as opportunities for growth rather than permanent failures. This optimism empowers us to seek redemption and inspires us to build a better world, one ethical choice at a time. 6. Act with universal humanity in mind, a vision of global solidarity. Kant's philosophy extended beyond personal ethics to a vision of a united humanity. He believed in a cosmopolitan world where people, regardless of nationality, live in harmony with shared respect for moral laws. We follow the story of a community that comes together after a natural disaster. People from diverse backgrounds, with varying resources and perspectives, work side by side to rebuild. They learn to see beyond their differences, finding strength in their shared humanity. Kant's lesson here reminds us that borders and cultural distinctions should not divide us. When we act with a global mindset, we contribute to a more inclusive and just world. 7. Balance freedom with responsibility, choices that honor others. Kant believed that freedom is a moral right, yet it must be exercised responsibly. Our actions should be limited by respect for the freedom and well-being of others. Imagine a young artist, Liam, who values his creative freedom. However, when a friend asks him to illustrate a controversial idea, he realizes that his work has implications beyond his own freedom. Liam chooses to turn down the request, respecting the values he shares with his community. Kant's idea of freedom with responsibility urges us to make choices that consider the impact on those around us. In a world that increasingly values individualism, Kant's reminder of interconnectedness offers a powerful call to moral responsibility. 8. Recognize the limits of human knowledge, humility in the face of mystery. Kant's reflections on human knowledge led him to the idea that there are limits to what we can truly understand. This realization fosters humility and an openness to life's mysteries. In this section, we follow Layla, a scientist who, after decades of research, encounters an unanswered question. Rather than feeling defeated, she finds peace in embracing the mystery, accepting that some answers may lie beyond human understanding. Kant's insight into the limits of knowledge encourages us to approach life with curiosity, humility, and a recognition of our own limitations. It reminds us that wisdom often lies in accepting what we do not know. 9. Embrace a life of principle, standing firm amidst challenges. Kant was unwavering in his belief that one should live by principles that reflect moral truth, even when such convictions are difficult to uphold. In a world often driven by compromise and convenience, he stood as a model for principled living, a reminder that our values should guide us, especially in times of challenge. Consider the story of Sarah, a young journalist who discovers unethical practices within her organization. She faces a difficult choice: remain silent and keep her job, or expose the truth and risk losing her career. Inspired by her commitment to honesty and justice, Sarah decides to follow her principles, even at great personal cost. This decision reflects Kant's teaching that a principled life is one of true integrity, one that may bring difficulty but also a deep sense of purpose. Kant's call to embrace a life of principle teaches us that values are not meant to be cast aside in tough times. Instead, they act as a compass that guides us through life's most challenging moments, reminding us of the strength that comes from living with conviction. 10. Cultivate moral courage, the will to do what is right. Kant believed that moral courage, the strength to do what is right, even in the face of opposition or fear, is a fundamental component of ethical living. True moral courage isn't loud or boastful, it is often quiet, rooted in an unwavering commitment to justice and integrity. In a small village, a teacher named Luis faces opposition for supporting marginalized students, advocating for their equal opportunities despite resistance from influential community members. Luis's courage, though it isolates him, serves as a beacon of hope and inspiration for his students. His quiet resilience mirrors Kant's idea of moral courage, showing that true bravery lies in standing for what is right, regardless of popularity or personal risk. This lesson encourages us to cultivate the inner strength needed to uphold our values, even when it's difficult. Kant's belief in moral courage reminds us that while courage may come with personal costs, it ultimately builds character and paves the way for a more just world. Conclusion: Kant's enduring legacy of ethical integrity and universal morality. Immanuel Kant's life in Königsberg may have been routine and secluded, but the impact of his ideas resounds across centuries. His moral philosophy, shaped by meticulous thought and deep commitment to ethical principles, challenges us to reconsider our motivations, our respect for others, and our roles within society. Kant's legacy is much more than an intellectual contribution, it's a profound call to live by values that extend beyond self-interest and embrace a universal respect for humanity. As we reflect on each of Kant's life lessons, his teachings reveal themselves as a cohesive guide to ethical integrity and moral courage. Kant's categorical imperative, the idea that we should act as if our actions could become universal laws, is perhaps his most influential concept. It urges us to evaluate our choices not merely by their immediate outcomes but by their potential to shape the world. When we ask, "What if everyone acted this way?" we're reminded that our actions have a ripple effect, influencing others and setting precedents. This principle fosters accountability, urging us to make choices that we'd be proud to see reflected in society. The categorical imperative challenges us to live with integrity, to hold ourselves to standards that honor the dignity of all, and to reject actions that exploit or harm others. This theme of respect for human dignity permeates Kant's philosophy. For him, every person has inherent worth, deserving of autonomy and respect. This concept, that individuals are ends in themselves, is at the core of his ethical system, discouraging the use of people as mere means to an end. In a world that often prioritizes personal gain and ambition, Kant's call to respect others for who they are reminds us of our shared humanity. This respect transcends personal differences, cultural divides, and social hierarchies, advocating for a world where each person is valued. It's a lesson in empathy, encouraging us to look beyond our perspectives and consider others' rights, needs, and values. Central to Kant's vision is the idea of duty over consequence. While many ethical theories weigh the outcomes of actions, Kant's philosophy emphasizes the moral value of intention. For him, doing what's right simply because it's right, rather than for personal benefit or recognition, is the essence of moral virtue. This approach asks us to prioritize principles over convenience, inspiring selflessness and resilience in ethical matters. In a society often driven by reward and consequence, Kant's insistence on duty reminds us that true character is revealed not by what we gain, but by our commitment to values, even in difficult circumstances. Kant's commitment to intellectual growth and self-reflection was another defining aspect of his philosophy. He believed that a moral life requires an open mind, a willingness to question one's beliefs, and a commitment to seek truth. This emphasis on personal growth is essential for ethical maturity, pushing us to examine our actions, acknowledge our biases, and strive for deeper understanding. In a rapidly changing world, where information is abundant but critical thinking often scarce, Kant's call for lifelong learning remains particularly relevant. It's an invitation to engage with complex ideas, to learn from others, and to broaden our moral perspectives. Equally significant is Kant's faith in humanity's potential for moral improvement. He believed that, despite our flaws, we are all capable of ethical growth. This optimistic view of human nature reflects his belief in free will and moral agency, the power to choose better paths and seek redemption. Kant's faith in our capacity for change encourages a compassionate view of ourselves and others, embracing mistakes as part of the journey toward ethical maturity. It's a powerful reminder that our pasts do not define us, and that the pursuit of a virtuous life is always within reach, no matter our starting point. Kant's vision of universal humanity, a world where people act as members of a global community, is perhaps one of his most visionary ideas. His concept of cosmopolitanism transcends nationalism, advocating for mutual respect and cooperation among nations and cultures. In our interconnected world, Kant's cosmopolitan ideal resonates as a call for global solidarity, where shared values of peace, justice, and compassion guide our relationships with others. His philosophy encourages us to see beyond borders and cultural differences, reminding us that our common humanity should bind us in mutual respect. The balance of freedom and responsibility is another fundamental aspect of Kant's philosophy. He believed that while freedom is a moral right, it must be exercised responsibly, with respect for others. Kant's understanding of freedom teaches us that true autonomy is not selfish or reckless, but thoughtful and considerate. In an age that often champions individualism, his lesson on freedom as a balance between personal rights and communal responsibilities reminds us that ethical behavior respects and preserves the rights of others. Kant's humility before the limits of human knowledge is a final, profound lesson. His acknowledgement that there are boundaries to what we can understand about the world fosters a sense of intellectual humility and openness to life's mysteries. In our pursuit of knowledge, Kant's message is that we must remain mindful of our limitations and approach the unknown with humility. This perspective encourages us to embrace curiosity without arrogance, to seek wisdom with a sense of wonder, and to respect the complexities that lie beyond human comprehension. Together, these lessons weave a rich tapestry of Kant's ethical vision, a vision that calls for integrity, respect, and commitment to universal moral principles. Kant's teachings on duty, autonomy, responsibility, and humanity guide us toward a life of ethical consistency, one that aligns with our highest values. His philosophy empowers us to rise above personal interests, to see beyond immediate gains, and to contribute to a just, compassionate world. In today's society, Kant's legacy endures as a beacon for those seeking to live with purpose and integrity. His teachings remind us that ethics is not merely a set of rules but a way of being, a commitment to honesty, respect, and the betterment of all. Kant's philosophy challenges us to uphold principles that serve the greater good, to act with empathy toward others, and to embrace life's uncertainties with intellectual humility. As we carry forward his legacy, we honor Kant's call to live as ethical citizens of the world, bound by a common duty to each other and to future generations. Through Kant's life lessons, we're reminded that morality is not passive, it's an active choice, a pursuit of a life that honors truth, justice, and humanity. His philosophy transcends time, inspiring us to reflect deeply on what it means to be a responsible and compassionate individual. By embracing Kant's teachings, we not only enrich our own lives but contribute to a world grounded in respect, integrity, and universal harmony.